Okay, I decided to do something a little different on this video, and since I can't do any molding right now and my shop's too cold to even work in, I decided to play with a 3D printer. So what I did is I'm going to build this pattern. It's bigger than my printer will do, so it'll be half scale. And I'll go through several, at least a couple anyway, molding processes to get a decent part out of it. Of course, it's all just modeled, so it's no sand involved, just me playing around. So let's take a look at it. So, got the pattern built, cope and drag patterns, and I need to mold it. Most floor molding or just loose molding, you would put your mold down, put the pattern in where you want. If you make a gate for it or you cut a gate later, that's up to you, but you'd put the gate in there, ram the part up that way. And that works really good. The problem I found with it, and why I don't do it this way, is when you go to flip the gate or the flask over, this would be the drag flask, you flip it over, then you take the cope flask and put that on here. Like it's a little tougher working with smaller parts. Anyway, you put that on there, ram up the cope, and now you got to take it apart. Well, lifting it up is a little awkward because the pins come up fine, the cope comes off okay. Now the pattern is sitting in there like this, and now you got to pull it out. The problem I have with loose patterns and why I like to mount everything is if you look at this, even on a small part like this, parting line is not 100% flat. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, probably not. Anyway, it's not flat. It's got a little bit of warpage to it. And so when that happens, when you put a loose pattern together, you're going to get maybe a little bit of sand that goes between them as you put them together and ram the cope side. Then when you go to pull the pattern, you're going to get sand that will probably be torn up around here, a little bit here and there, maybe a lot, maybe a little. Depends on how good you rammed the sand or how hard you rammed it. So what I do, I like to do it with the pins in the drag. So since I have a molding bench that I work to, and these are what we would call in the pattern shop, these are just bench horses. They would sit on your bench, and you put your bottom board in. Then I take mine, and for a loose mold I put the pins down because the bottom board's just slightly bigger than the edge of the flask and the pins go on the outside. Then I can put everything in here just like I did before and ram it up. Problem is I still got a loose pattern. But the difference doing it that way is when you go to pull it apart, the pins are now up like that, and flask sits like so. The pins are sticking up into the cope, and you can grab it like so, pull the thing apart, and you still got the same problem, but the cope flask will come off easier. So now we'll do the same thing with a mounted pattern, and this is where the bench horses come in handy because the bottom board here and the flasks, this is all in the foundry. In the pattern shop I wouldn't look at it, wouldn't even see it till I went out to the foundry. We had templates made for each size flask that we used. We always use snap flasks. In the first foundry or pattern shop I worked in. So what we would do is set the bench dogs, or bench horses, not bench dogs, horses up like this. You mount your pattern, your gate, you flip it over, and you mount the other side. And there it goes. Okay, so now it's mounted to snapboard. We use snap flask, so it's snapboard for us. It's basically just a match plate, and we got cope and drag mounted to it. So now when I go to mold it, I grab the pins again, and the bottom board this time. Set that up there. Set the side with the pins on it. Drag goes down, just like you would normally. Okay. Yep. Cope goes up on top of it. Flip the whole thing over like so. Now you can ram your drag, and everything's done. You can do it another way too. If you want to, you can take this flask off, put that on the, not on the bottom board, I'm sorry, put that on the horses or your molding table if you got a way to do it with the pins down. Then you can put the bottom board on, flip the whole thing over like so. Now the bottom board's, everything's there. Put the cope flask on. Add your gate to it. Down sprue. Gating's already mounted. Got your down sprue there. Ram everything up. Now when you go to take it apart, pull your down sprue out. Put your fingers there. Lift it straight up off there. Then you use the pins to guide the drag off like so. You got a clean casting. You make sure cope and drag are cleaned up. Set it back down on your bottom board like so. Take your cope flask, set it down on top. You don't need to take it apart and make sure you didn't drop it too hard or anything, because you got the pins you can guide it down with. And you're ready to pour metal into the mold. And hopefully, if you pour metal into the mold, you did everything right, you get a casting that looks like so. And that's the whole process right there. Works easy, and it makes a clean pattern, because when you make the pattern, you mount it on a match plate. Put a little tiny fillet, about a 1/16 fillet, all the way around this whole thing, cope and drag. And you don't get any sand pulling away from the parting line if you got your sand mixed properly. So I use olivine green sand and don't have to mess with any of the oils like in Petrobond or anything. I don't like those. Just me. Anyway, that's what I do, and it works. And I had to play with the 3D printer a little bit, so I figured I'd do this part and see what I can come up with. I got friends out there that I try to explain what I do, and or did, I should say, and they really don't understand the process. So I did this just for fun. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you like it, great. Leave a comment. Got any questions, leave a comment there too. And we'll talk at you next time. Bye.